Physical strength was a requirement of knights, not lords. The nobility of the Seven Kingdoms operated instead through shrewd deception and convenient alliances. This style of living set them on edge, yet it was the price to pay for the fineries of life. Yet, there were some who still could not escape their grimy reputation. So it was with House Frey. Try as he might, the late Lord Walder could not shift the tide of public opinion in regards to his family, but one of his descendants was viler than the rest. This was Black Walder Frey. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Exploring Fiction. One of the countless spawn of the great Frey clan, Black Walder quickly gained a reputation for both moral corruption and unmetered anger. He did nothing to dispute the claims made against the integrity of his house, instead seemingly fueling them with his behavior. And when at last the Freys rose higher than ever before, he was present for it all. Black Walder Frey represented the worst qualities of his brethren, a pure personification of all that was wrong with House Frey, and maybe even the nobility at large. So, who exactly is Black Walder Frey, and why is he such an interesting character? Let's explore. Black Walder Frey was born on an undetermined year to Sir Ryman Frey and his wife, at the Twins. He was the grandson of Sir Stevron Frey, and thus one of many great-grandsons to Lord Walder Frey himself. He had two brothers, Peter Frey and Edwin Frey, the latter of which he thoroughly despised. The feeling was mutual. Black Walder Frey grew up at the Twins, and surely was spared from boredom merely due to the amount of relatives surrounding him at all times. Still, the other Freys soon learned to tread with caution around him, as Black Walder quickly gained a reputation of being stubborn, bitter, and angry. Throughout his whole life, and even up into the present, Black Walder refused a wife, preferring instead to stay unmarried. This allowed him to take up relations with many women in his time, and it is even rumored he slept with the wives of multiple of his own brothers. What's more, affairs may even have risen between Black Walder and some of his blood relatives, and the lineage of many Frey children became questionable due to his promiscuity. Black Walder Frey was a lanky, thin man with a pronounced black beard and hair, setting him quite apart from his homely, brunette brethren. Yet, it was believed that he received his nickname not from his physical features, but from his emotional ones. For Black Walder Frey possessed a fierce, unquenchable temper, as well as his corrupt attitude toward others and the world at large. Though only briefly, Black Walder Frey first appears in the narrative of A Song of Ice and Fire in Book 1, A Game of Thrones. As the Stark family begins to crumble and crack under the full pressure of continental politics, the young wolf Robb Stark marches down from Winterfell, intent on aiding his father and defeating the Lannisters. But in order to meet his enemies head-on, he first has to pass over the Green Fork, which means marching through the Twins and the realm of Lord Walder Frey. Sent to negotiate with the bitter old man is Robb's mother, Catelyn Stark, and when she enters the hall of House Frey, Black Walder is in attendance. He watches and listens as Catelyn promises Robb's hand in marriage to one of Lord Walder's daughters in exchange for crossing the Green Fork peacefully. While not present in A Clash of Kings, Black Walder Frey is mentioned in passing. At Winterfell, Big Walder Frey explains the complicated family tree to Bran Stark, and points out that by lineage, Black Walder is fourth in line to the seat at the Twins. However, when Sir Stevron Frey, Black Walder's grandfather, perishes at the Battle of Oxcross, Black Walder climbs to third. And among his many brothers, uncles, and other relations, he truly seems to have the ambition to seek Lord Walder's measly throne. But for now, Black Walder fights beside Robb Stark in the Westerlands, prowling on the offensive in the War of the Five Kings. In A Storm of Swords, Black Walder is not only present in the narrative, but plays an important role. He still travels and fights for Robb Stark, and is even one of the chosen men to lead troops over the walls in the storming of the crag. But the western castle, instead of bringing the young wolf great victory, ushers in only strife. Strife which turns to rage for Black Walder and the rest of the Freys. For Robb Stark is injured in the battle, and is forced to take to bed in enemy territory. Nursing him back to health is Jane Westerling, and after they sleep together, Robb quickly marries her so as to not smear her honor. Even though he is bound to marry a daughter of Lord Walder Frey, he breaks his vow. The Freys are understandably furious, Black Walder chief among them. After all, his temper hardly stays in check in peaceful times. He threatens to kill Jane Westerling, and though Robb would have his head for such an insult, Jane stays her king's hand. As his father Ryman Frey abandons Robb and takes his men back to the Twins, Black Walder follows suit, abandoning their oath-breaking king. Later, Robb sits in reflection with his mother Catelyn, and determines that if Sir Stevron were still leading the Frey troops, he may have been able to reconcile with them. But with Ryman and Black Walder at the front, he stood no chance. Finally, the chance to make amends presents itself to the young wolf, and with his remaining forces in tow, he rides for the Twins to attend the wedding of his uncle Edmure Tully and the man's bride-to-be, Rosalind Frey. Black Walder is among those who greet Robb at the river-spanning castle, and Grey Wind attempts to attack him and his brethren. Though he is the only one not to fall off his horse during the wolf's aggressive tirade, Black Walder is still troubled. Jane Westerling is absent from Robb's host, an unwelcome sight indeed. The event to be known forever to history as the Red Wedding then proceeds, and Robb finds it strange that Black Walder Frey is so subdued. However, he mustn't wonder much longer, as the massacre soon begins, and in the chaos, Catelyn Stark sees Black Walder killing gleefully and fiercely among those in opposition to her son and his men. The young wolf is dead, and with him the strength of the North. For their part in the scheme, the Freys gain newfound prominence, as well as infamy, across the Seven Kingdoms, and they join up with the Crown in an attempt to squash what opposition remains from the war. Black Walder Frey leads the attack on Seaguard, and even forces surrender there. He only grows more feared and more renowned, and his own kin continue to reflect on his treacherous ways, such as sleeping with the wives of his own brothers. Though he is once again absent in the flesh from A Feast for Crows, tales are still told and updates are still given of Black Walder Frey's fate post-Red Wedding. Still riding high off his victorious campaign at Seaguard, Black Walder hunts for the outlaws who hung his kin, Peter and Merritt Frey. Questioning local peasants, he learns of the existence of Lady Stoneheart, and begins to track her through the Riverlands. The former Lady of Winterfell is more cunning in her reincarnated form, however, and Black Walder loses her near the neck. And later, after the death of Sir Ryman Frey on his return to the Twins, Sir Edwin Frey confides in Sir Jaime Lannister that he believes Black Walder is behind the death of his own father. Sir Edwin explains that he fears for his own safety, as he is now all that stands between Black Walder and the succession to which he'd seemed so distant. Not only is Black Walder vile and cruel, but it seems he is treacherous and selfish beyond forgiveness as well. And though he does not appear even in name in A Dance with Dragons, the future of Black Walder Frey hangs like a thick fog in the air across the Riverlands. House Frey is the lowliest on the totem pole of nobility. They are not as proud as the Lannisters, not as honorable as the Starks, not as boisterous as the Baratheons. They are only a step above lowborn, but they are still of the upper caste of society. And so, the other houses treat them as such, but only enough to maintain manners. And out of all members of House Frey, the most despicable is Black Walder Frey, which places him in a company all his own. While his brethren are viewed with general disdain by others, Black Walder garners a more cautious gaze, for he is not only sly, but also ruthless and deceitful. He beds the wives of his own brothers, and maybe even some of his female relatives if the tales are true, and does so proudly. Even the Lannisters hide their shameful acts of lust with greater success. And on the field of battle, Black Walder Frey is a formidable foe, so much so that even the great Brynden Tully wonders whether he will be Sir Jaime's champion during the siege of Riverrun. Black Walder seems to embody the most savage, the most extreme aspects of his house, as if all the worst traits of the Freys are maximally present in his very nature. In his brief reign as king in the north, Robb Stark utilizes Black Walder, though only tolerating him, and learns to recognize the man's tendencies well enough to realize something is amiss before the Red Wedding. Black Walder is too calm and subdued. And then, when Lord Walder springs the trap and sheds the blood of his guests, Black Walder joins in the massacre, satiating his bloodlust by butchering many of Robb's men who he'd fought beside in the War of the Five Kings. Of course, Black Walder and the rest of the Freys are rewarded by the crown, and he even goes on to take Seaguard for his new masters. But regardless of whom Black Walder truly serves, who he is never changes. He is still a twisted, lustful man with a quick temper and an indiscriminating sword. There is even suspicion among his kin that he is plotting the downfall of all who stand between him and the Lordship of the Crossing. Given Black Walder's established personality, it is quite easy to believe. Honor and humility can only carry one so far in the Seven Kingdoms, but thankfully for Black Walder Frey, he needn't worry about being harried by such traits. Though the end fate of Black Walder and the rest of House Frey has yet to be determined, what the former has done and said so far paints a clear picture of personification. Black Walder Frey was a blemish upon an already crude picture, a foul aspect of a house already disregarded. He was cruel toward his family and enemies alike, and rivaled the most angry men in Westeros with his temper and lenience upon violence to resolve conflict. At best, Black Walder was tolerated, and at worst, downright loathed. Little respect was earned by his words and deeds. Though as a whole House Frey was known to be conniving and pesky, Black Walder Frey was the embodiment of repugnance and rage. So, that's all for this video. Leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to hear them. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new here. I'd love to have you. Visit my website, russellawellsauthor.com, for exclusive fiction, reviews, and more. And sign up for my mailing list for free exclusive content. The links for both are in the description below. And, like always, I will see you next time.